President Obama declaring a state of emergency in Louisiana as powerful Isaac takes aim at the Gulf Coast. Isaac is still a tropical storm, but just barely. It's expected to grow into a Category 2 hurricane before coming onshore tonight or early tomorrow. Joining us first on CNBC to talk about preparations, Democratic Senator Mary Landrieu of Louisiana. Senator, good to have you this morning. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
What's your best read on how serious this is going to be? Certainly, we'd like to see these lower category numbers than the higher ones.
Well, absolutely. We're hoping that this is not a devastating storm, but all preparations are being made by local and state officials. The President, FEMA, the Secretary of Homeland Security has sent us a much better FEMA than the one that showed up in Katrina. And of course, we didn't wait until just last week to start preparing. We've been preparing since Katrina. The federal government has made an enormous investment in this Gulf Coast area, upwards of $50 billion since Katrina to help make this region more resilient. And we hope and know the benefits will accrue back to the nation over time because this is America's energy coast. It supplies fisheries for the nation. So we're very grateful to the federal government, particularly for the extraordinary investments they've made over the last several years and for a smarter, more cooperative FEMA.
People talk about FEMA being a lot better prepared. Are there specific examples of just how they're better prepared than they were in Katrina?
Well, absolutely. I mean, they were here a week ago. FEMA didn't really show up until after really the levees broke. I mean, for all practical purposes. And the storms are so totally different. What people have to realize is the Gulf Coast has weathered dozens of hurricanes, Camille, Betsy. Just to name, two of the most famous, of course, Gustav and Ike after Katrina. What happened in Katrina was not the hurricane. It was the failure of the levee system that flooded a great metropolitan region with water up to 14 and 20 feet that covered homes for miles and miles. That is not going to happen. The storm is not that powerful. The levees should hold. I mean, we've got our fingers crossed. We've invested in some of the most sophisticated investments in the world. And so that is very unlikely. All pumping stations have been improved along the Gulf Coast, particularly in the metropolitan area. That's not to say that everything's been done from the federal level that needs to be done. We still have places outside of the levee protection system that need help. But it's a much different day. Significant investments have been made in this region in the last few years.
Senator, nevertheless, there's some concern about the rebuild homes in some parishes not being elevated. Are you focused on that at all? Are those perhaps overlooked in some of the major infrastructure investments that have been made since Katrina?
Well, the fact of the matter is we knew we could never elevate all the homes that are along the Gulf Coast. Many are raised already and have been raised for centuries because that's the way this area was built. It was really the exodus to the suburbs in the 50s and 60s where homes were built on slabs that are really a problem. And the fact of the matter is it's just cost prohibitive to raise them all. So what we have to do is build a stronger levee system and then, of course, take the money from the BP oil spill, which is I'm very proud to have passed that piece of legislation. The president has signed into law. Take that money and invest billions of dollars to help with restoring our wetlands, because that is really the first level of protection for the whole Gulf Coast, or our wetlands, and then our levees, and then smart building inside of those levee systems. And we're much better prepared than we were. And as I said, there's a much smarter FEMA that showed up this week.
Senator, obviously, hurricane season's not over yet, and I just wonder, I mean, we'll take these things one at a time, but let's pretend we did have a 5 headed toward us this week. Are you convinced that the levees would be ready as of today?
No one knows for certain if the levees would hold up. Katrina wasn't a 5. Katrina was a 3.
Right. Well, 5 in the water.
Broke, yes, and the levees broke with a 3. So we know that the levees will hold. There's been more concrete poured in one of our surge barriers, a 2-mile surge barrier, than almost the equivalent to the Hoover Dam. I mean, we went to the Netherlands right after. We just didn't look around the United States. There is no model for this in the United States. We went to the Netherlands to find world-class flood control control structures, have designed similar ones down here. And again, remember, this region, it's not about just protecting the people of New Orleans. It's about, and Louisiana, it's about keeping that river system open, keeping the oil and gas, pumping out of the Gulf, so there's not disruptions to the general economy of the nation. And that's why these investments are a smart investment for the Gulf Coast. We produce a tremendous amount of tax revenue just offshore to replenish the federal treasury, if you will, for a strong operational economy down here.
Yeah, I just think about it, Senator, and whether it was BP, whether it was Katrina, I mean, hurricane seasons in general. Now we have a drought that has the Mississippi trying to keep 9 feet deep. But do you ever wonder sometimes what else they can throw at you?
That's exactly what we're thinking. I mean, I was with the mayor at Vidalia. He looked out last year and the water was coming over into his town, and now he has to go and look down to try to find water in the river. It's just been a quite bizarre set of circumstances. But, again, the local officials are much better prepared. The federal government is so much more proactive now. And, we just have to handle what comes our way and be grateful for the support that we're getting from around the country.
Senator, appreciate you taking a few moments to talk to us today. Senator Mary Landrieu of Louisiana. We'll keep our eye on the Gulf Coast over the next couple of days.